you know, the webinar is going to be recorded, so for future use as well. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi, Mr. Beamer. This is Lynn Williams. I was wondering if it's possible for them to choose to come just on A days or B days in person.
No, ma'am. To be able to keep the school as safe as we possibly can, we're asking students that choose the concurrent model to choose it for a 2-week period. So that would be both on A and also B days as well. That's also going to assist our teachers, you know, as they will be, you know, trying to plan and putting things together so that we can make sure that we're maximizing as best we can our educational platform. It would be better, and like I said, for health reasons, if you're going to choose the concurrent model, that you're choosing it for 2 weeks on both A and B days. One question that we have in the chat is dealing with transitions in between classes. So we are going to have a staggered transition. So if you look at the schedule that was sent out, that schedule has been tweaked from this previous year's schedule to allow for a 15-minute transition period. The reason why we did that was because we wanted to make sure that we, number one, that we staggered the transition time between grades, and number two, that we gave teachers enough time to be able to sanitize the rooms before students come back in. So the way that the transition is going to work is that when the end of the period rings, bell rings, seniors will be released first. They're going to be released by teachers. I've designed the schedule where there will be, as you guys, if you think of the upper school, there are 4 classes in each pod. The way that I've designed the schedule is that as we stagger this release time, looking at from room to room, there are no more than 15 students that will be released at a time, up to 15 students that will be released at a time. Teachers will be standing by the door. They'll let the seniors out. Seniors will go out a minute later, then the juniors a minute later, then the sophomores a minute later, then the freshmen will be let out. And that's going to help with the staggering. I'm also going to ask for teacher volunteers when we're trying to get students back into class at the start of class, is that we have teachers, myself, other administrators, we will be out positioned at the opening of each pod, and we will be letting students in a safe manner. When we see that the pods are too crowded, then we'll stop other students so that they can come in. And we're trying to create a one-way flow system into the pods. So if you think of the pods, you have classrooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're trying to create a U shape that would allow students to go to room 1, 2 first, then they would cut across, they would go to 3, 4 to enter their room, and then they would exit you know, out of the pod on the 3, 4 side. So it's like a U shape if you think of if you're looking inside the pod, to be able to give that one traffic flow. 9th graders who report to the Webster, if they come, so if students come to school before 7:45, so one of the things that we're asking is that if at all possible, that students are not on campus before 7:30, and if they come, you know, 7:30 to 7:45, the library will be open. We will be maintaining social distancing in the library. There will also be designated areas in the courtyard where students will be able to go. There will be a staff member there, an administrator there that will be on duty to maintain social distancing, making sure that students are keeping their mask on until the bell rings. I'm looking in the chat. Can students bring their backpacks since they're, yes, students will be able to bring their backpacks with them. We are with the lockers. If there is a special need for a locker, we will be able to assign a student a locker, but that locker will be over by the Science Center and the McKenzie Center, where it's outdoors and not within the confounds of the pods. And we're going to, skip every other locker. Teachers are also, in speaking with department chairs, teachers will also be okay with allowing students to keep books inside the classroom if they're not able to get a digital component of the textbook. But they are allowed to bring their backpacks with them. Can you explain how lunch is going to work? Okay, so for lunch, juniors and seniors, as long as they are in good academic standing, juniors and seniors will be allowed to go off campus for lunch. And we're asking students to maintain social distancing. We're asking them to wear their mask. If they're going to be traveling in cars with other students, we're asking them to put their mask on while they're in the cars with other students. For students that are staying on campus, we will have the dining hall, the CAR-T gym, and then there are about 6 areas around the upper school, outside areas around the upper school, where students will be able to sit from a distance. We're also going to let students know, if they would like to, sit on the lawn, they can sit on the lawn within a 6 feet distance, and they can enjoy their lunch. Each of these areas, we will have teachers and administrators that will be on lunch duty in those areas. Again, making sure that we're maintaining social distance as best as we can. All of the lunches will be prepackaged, and students will also have the ability to pre-order lunches as well that will help with the flow. So when they go in, they give Mr. Jim and other workers their name. There's a box there with their lunch, and then they can pick it up, and then they can go to one of the designated areas. Question in the chat: if fall sports move forward, will students have somewhere to store athletic bags? Yes, the locker rooms are still going to be available for students to be able to store their belongings within the various different athletic rooms, locker rooms for the sports. Curious about notification. I'm reading, curious about notification of school positive cases. How will this info be disseminated via email or text? Will we be notified of school-wide, upper school, or particular classes so we can decide if we need to test or quarantine appropriately? I'm going to ask our nurse, Nancy Ann Teams, if she would answer that question for me. It's concerning notification of positive cases and quarantine.
Sure. Hey, good morning. So it is going to be a case-by-case scenario. So as we've done with the summer camp, obviously any positive case that occurs on Maclay, we will be working directly with the Department of Health and tracing back. That's why the focus on the cohorting, really kind of even going back to that lunch thing. If your child's going off campus with other children, I mean, I would strongly discourage that at this time because that is going to put them at a contact risk. We will be using the criteria from the CDC. So scenario of identifying who all the close contacts are with the Department of Health and who the potential contacts. We will be, it'll be a case-by-case situation. I know in the summertime, we were notifying directly anyone who was part of the, part of a cohort. And then anyone who was a close contact, that then they would have to go into quarantine. And then we would notify anyone for a potential, which then it would be the discretion of the parents if they wanted to get someone tested. Obviously, HIPAA, we aren't able to share any names of any positive cases. So it will be situational based through contact tracing and working with the teachers, working with what groups that they're in, working with Mr. Beamer and Mr. Milford with the health department to communicate. So we'll be communicating at all appropriate levels. We have been going above and beyond what the recommendations have been, because obviously we want people to be informed and empowered to make the decisions that are best for their family.
Nancy, and there is also a question concerning the cleaning of desk. Do you want to talk about the type of cleaning solutions that we will be using to clean off desk and other high touch areas?
Sure. So obviously anything that we'll be using will be EPA approved. Since this is the high school group, we're going to be empowering those students to be cleaning their desks before and after at the end of, like, if they arrive to class, to clean off their area, and when then they leave. So we're going to have enough cleaning solutions that will be I don't know, I'm hearing an echo now. So everything that we're using is approved with the EPA to help mitigate what's going on. We are discouraging the use of bleach products while children are session, but there may be some bleach products used after. So if you have any specific, some of it's based on availability of what we can get, but it will all be safe and approved to be used.
Thank you, Nancy Ann. All of the transition times, so that's starting with the end of first period and then going into second, third, and even into the end of the day, all of those transition times are going to be staggered. There was a question, will there be staggered end of school day dismissal? And yes, and the way, again, that we're staggering is that seniors are going to be released first, then juniors, then sophomores, then freshmen. There's another question in the chat: is the upper school cohorting like middle school? So our cohorting in the upper school looks a lot different than it does in middle school and in lower school, because we're not able to truly cohort students because of the various different levels that we offer in the upper school. But what I've been able to do is I've been able to group students as best I can by level. So if your student is in an honors English class, I've tried to take all of the students that are taking honors level classes, and I've tried to group them in groups that way. If they're taking advanced honors, I've tried to group them in advanced honors. So when schedules come out, you'll find that your son or daughter may say, I have 5 classes with X. Well, that was on purpose. That was our way of trying to cohort in the upper school so that it would be easier for us to do contract tracing if we need to. And so hopefully we won't have to, but that's our way of looking at cohorting in the upper school. It's more by levels. Looking at another question here, it says, is there a number, a threshold of positive cases when the school will go completely viral? Nancy Ann, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. So part of the guidelines that we have written up is if so any division, if a division hits a 10% threshold, obviously if the teaching staff hits a 10%, so we can look at it division wise, we can look at it as a whole school wise. So this is something that we will be looking at, and if it's to that threshold as well, back to, we are collaborating and working with the department. So we set a 10%, that was through national guidelines. But if if for some reason we're seeing a trend increasing with absences, we will be, we might make that call with the collaboration of the leadership and with the Department of Health at an earlier threshold. So like I said, it might be it might just be elementary school, it might just be middle school, it might just be high school, or it could be the entire school.
And while we're on speaking in the health realm, there's another question that came in the chat. We have increased the number of personnel within our custodial department that will be on campus so that we can, again, safely monitor restrooms. We can monitor soap dispensers, making sure that there's enough soap, making sure that there are no empty hand sanitizer stations around campus. We've put in touchless sanitized stations around campus. So there will be constant monitoring and also constant cleaning, again, of those high-touched areas. In addition, I have asked our Director of Facilities, Scott Egan, to give us in the upper school a kind of stockpile of important things that as I and other administrators go around campus, I am deploying this year that every 30 minutes I would like for the upper school admin team that are not teaching a class or in a meeting to actually go around, monitor things from the outside inside. So in case that we may see something that is lacking and the crew has not gotten there yet, then we'll have access to hand sanitizing dispensers and solutions to be able to refill, to make sure that, again, we have everything that we need on a minute-by-minute basis to keep the community safe as we possibly can. There's a question in the chat concerning students who are doing virtual school. Will they be able to set appointments with their teachers and have a conversation with their teachers? And so we are doing office hours this year, as we've done previously. Teachers, in addition to the standard office hours that we will have on our A days and our homeroom time, teachers also will be hosting virtual office hours as well for students to be able to get in contact with them. And we're also going to continue something that we started last semester with our MARC. We're going to have MARC after dark. So in lieu of having MARC available during our after school hours, we're also going to be having MARC that's going to be open from 6 until 7:30 Monday through Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. We're also going to be expanding where we're trying to get, in addition to those teachers that work specifically in the MARC, we're trying to get teachers from each division that would also, each discipline that would also go in and be able to be a help to students if we begin to see that we have traction with the MARC after dark with pupils that are going there on a constant basis. Students will be able to communicate with their teachers, and if a face-to-face appointment is needed, then the teacher and the student will be able to work that out as well. We are also continuing with our after-school testing center as well. So we will have a testing center that will be open after school from 3 until 5 for students who need to meet with, they have accommodations or modifications, they need extended time. Even our virtual students, if that's the case, those are things that we will work out with our academic dean and with the teacher and with the testing center director to make sure that we are providing those opportunities for students to be successful. This year, I don't know if those that came on earlier, I had a slide. It's all about flexibility, it's all about adaptability, and it's about creating options for our students and for our students' learners. There's a question in the chat. Are you planning to send another email instructions concerning textbooks? Yes, later this week, students will be receiving their classes. It's not going to be the exact schedule, but it will be the class and the teacher that is assigned, as well as instructions for how to go in and order their textbooks. A note about textbooks, we have asked the eCampus to give us the ebook components to the actual physical textbook. In some cases, there are no ebooks. We understand that, teachers understand that. And in some cases, there are some books that were not able to be within the bundle. And so if that's the case, then there is an a la carte price for that ebook. But if you're not able to get the ebook, it's not the end all be all. Again, we're very flexible. Teachers are willing to work with students. The only thing that I would ask is that students make sure that they don't lend their books to other students, that they're able to keep their books lock and key. And like I said earlier, teachers are also providing spaces for students if they would like to, keep their book in the class. That could also be made possible as well. And if there are special needs, again, if there are special needs where there are some students because of medical issues, they need a locker, we do have some lockers that we will be able to give for students that have special circumstances. I think I've covered all of the, oh, no, there's one. Okay, here's another question in the chat. Students used to have to check out with a staff for the flex and lunch before leaving campus, causing large gathering. Okay, so checking in and checking out. So we're going touchless. So this year, our college counseling office that checks our students out during lunch, there will be an iPad there, and the iPad, instead of giving the college counselor their ID like they did before, they basically just come up and say, hey, I'm leaving, and the college counselor just presses a button, and that lets us know that they are off campus. We are working on putting touchless systems through iPads inside of the classrooms as well for students who want to check out, that will go to the library or go to a special place during flex or during homeroom. So we're working on trying to create as many touchless options as we can that will still provide us the information that we need to make sure that every student is safe, especially, if we have to go into some type of emergency mode. So we will have some touchless system. And again, we're working on trying to decrease density. So, when I say that, that's long lines, that's number of students in a classroom, that's the number of students in a particular area. So we're looking at, where else on campus can we still provide this need that would allow us to be able, again, to lower the density as best we can, because we know that that's what's going to help keep us safe, in addition to wearing the face mask. Another question in the chat: how will student violation of safety protocols be addressed, i.e. non-compliance? So we are going to be treating students that do not wear their face mask. We're going to be treating that just as we do with dress code. If you're seen without your face mask, then you are going to be, you're given that warning, please help all of us, help you, put your face mask on. If it's seen again, then that student will get lunch detention, or then we'll reach up to a 7 a.m. detention. And then if we need to, we will take it from there. In each circumstances, you will be called as parents. And so one of the things that I'm really asking you to help is help us. I'm asking you to help us. Go ahead now, start now in letting your son or daughter know these are the rules. That is a non-negotiable. I'm telling everybody right now that you not following the rules, not putting on your face mask, not wearing it when you're supposed to wear it, those are non-negotiables. And, like I will tell students on the first day of school, don't let me have to have that type of conversation with you. You are young adults. I want to treat you like a young adult. And, if you come into my office or if we have to have a conversation, please don't let it be about something as simple as wearing a face mask. I will say this openly. If your child does not want to follow the rules, we have another option for them, and that's the virtual option. And I will ask you respectively to allow them to participate virtually. I don't want to have to be put into the situation where a student that is on campus that refuses to follow the rules, that I have to come and say that student is no longer allowed to be on campus. They can go and take their classes virtually. I don't want to have to do that. So I'm asking you to partner with us, because I have to not only keep your child safe, but I have 375 other students and I have over 50 faculty just in the upper school alone that I have to keep safe as well. And your families that come along with that. You mentioned staggered dismissals. Can you share the timelines? For example, what time and where do you pick up a ninth grader? So right now, ninth graders, and well, I should just say the pickup and drop-off area for the upper school is the Carty or the Webster Center. And so as we talk about the staggered release times, again, because of the nature of the upper school schedule, each day I am going to, by the end of drop off, I will be reducing my numbers by at least 25%, just because of how we're going to be conducting study hall, how we're going to be conducting flex. So there should not be a large number of upper school students on campus at the dismissal time. Where those large numbers are going to come into play is going to be obviously in our ninth grade and in our 10th grade classes. And so you can still pick students up at the Webster Center. You can pick them up at the Carty. You should not notice a difference in the wait time. When I talk about the staggered time is going to be anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes of students getting out. It just depends on how quickly the seniors leave campus. Again, no one having to stop by their lockers. That's going to help again with the time frame. So I'm thinking, no later than a minute and a half, 2 minutes, the upper school courtyard should be clear for the next group to be able to come out, and then the next group to be able to come out. So I am safe in saying that at least by 3:15, 3:20 at the latest, your son or daughter should be wherever your location is that you choose to pick them up. So here's another question. If a student is unable to attend school for a couple of days due to different circumstances, for example, a religious holiday, would they be able to go virtual for those days? Absolutely. Anytime a student is not able to be on campus for whatever reason, the virtual option is there. That is going to be a live platform. And so the students will be there. What I would say is to have that student communicate. You still have to do your blue form and different things of that such, but have the student communicate with the teacher. We're still trying to get the appropriate numbers of those individuals that will be concurrent versus those people that will be on campus. Right now, we're sitting at about 83% of students will be on campus and 17% will be in the concurrent virtual classroom. I am working on right now trying to get in contact with those parents that did not submit the survey. So if you're on the line and if you did not fill out the survey to let us know which option that you wanted to choose, please email me whether you're going to be in the concurrent option or you're going to be on campus. This is important because it may be in some sections that a teacher may have all of their students in class. And so if that is the case, then there is no need for the teacher to be able to turn on their live feed. So in communicating with the teachers, your son or daughter must communicate. One of the things that we preach in the upper school is self-advocacy. communicate with your teachers. And so if they know that they're going to be absent and there's a potential for them to be able to join the class concurrently, if they are an on-campus student, then just just say, hey, Mrs. McCann, I'm an on-campus student, but I'm going to be out tomorrow, but I would like to join your class concurrently. That will help Mrs. McCann be able to know that, okay, I've got to make sure that I have everything set up for the student to be able to live stream with the class. Another question is based on parent feedback. Do you know what percentage have so far committed to virtual? I think I answered that. 83%, actually for the upper school, 86% of the upper school parents chose on campus and 14% chose the concurrent virtual classroom. So 86% of our students as of today will be on campus. These numbers will fluctuate a little bit because, like I said, we're still working of about 124 odd parents that did not respond to the survey. So again, if you're one of those parents, please email me your child's option, because I would like to be able to give that to faculty. I would like to be able to give that to faculty as soon as I can for planning purposes. Here's another question. What is the stipulation regarding 2-week commitment to online classes? Are we able to change to an in-school class if things don't work out well online? Yes. So after 2 weeks, you will be able to recommit. Once you commit, you have to commit to that 2 weeks, but then after that, you can come back. And so that's what we're asking. What we're trying to also ask, what I would also ask, is that you don't pick I'm on this week, I'm off this week, I'm on this, this session, I'm off this session. If there's a reason to have to go on and off, I'm asking you to please help to ensure that it is a valid reason. But I know that there are a lot of parents that have reached out to me and they've said, we're going to start concurrently and we're going to see what the 2 weeks look like, and then we'll come back after that. And that is perfectly fine for you to be able to do that. So if you have chosen the concurrent option, in my mind, and what I'm letting my department chairs know so that we can let our faculty know, is that is just for the first 2 weeks of school, and then our numbers will shift and change afterwards. And we'll probably be sending out another survey after the 2-week period or right before the 2-week period ends, just to see what those numbers look like, so that we can try to give teachers as much information as possible. I would love to be able to let my teachers know as best as I can, hear your numbers, so that they can be prepared. If they are prepared, then things will go well. If they're not prepared because you're not communicating with us, then that's where we could have hiccups. And I don't want to, again, as you look at in the slide earlier that I put up, one of the major goals of the upper school is to make sure that we, as smoothly as we can, that we provide our educational service to our students. So there is a question, can you explain the responsibilities and expectations for the virtual students? If your child is a virtual student, the expectation of those students are the same as students who are on campus. When assignments are due, assignments are due. When they need to set up appointments to speak with their teachers, they need to do that. The only difference is that they're doing it virtually. And so, if a teacher says it's due on this day at this time, and it has to be submitted, it has to be submitted on that day and that time, unless there have been previous communications with that teacher. So those students who are virtual, they are expected to do the same exact thing as students who are on campus, and vice versa. Students who are on campus are to do the same thing. If there are some circumstances, then we will work with those students through our academic dean, or if we need to get other departments involved, we'll get other departments involved in assisting them. Regarding any illness or possible COVID family exposure, would we contact the upper school division or the nurse? So if there are any type of illnesses or a possibility of COVID exposure, I'm asking you that you do both, that you contact our nurse, you contact me, and then you also contact Debbie Tackett in the office. You can do that simply by sending us an email, and then as we look at that information, we'll be able to then determine internally, okay, who handles this? Is this something, Nancy Ann, for you to be able to handle, or is this just part of the day-to-day procedures and the day-to-day occurrences of a common cold? And then that means that the upper school will handle that, and we'll handle it the way that we normally handle that. So I would say, if your son or daughter is feeling ill, or if there's any possibility of exposure, please email myself, Mrs. Tackett, the administrative assistant in the upper school, and also our school nurse, Nancy Ann Teams. Question in the chat: what if a student would like to be there for the first day to meet their teacher, but goes virtual 2 weeks? Is that okay? So unfortunately, that is not okay. If you're committing to the concurrent classroom, you're committing to the concurrent classroom from day one. Now, there are cases where that student may be able to email their teacher, and there could be some type of office hour set up after school, after the school day, where that student can come in and meet with that teacher. Again, I will let the teacher and that student handle that. But I really don't want students coming on campus, because when you come on campus like that, what happens is you have the potential to infect. And so again, we're trying to, as best we can, level cohort to keep the campus as safe as possible. The clinic will now be in what currently is the upper school office. So where the upper school office currently sits will now be our new clinic. Where the clinic currently is will now be the upper school office. So if you need to go to the upper school office once school starts, you need to go to what is currently the clinic now over by the pool and dining hall area. But the clinic, if your son or daughter is not feeling well, if you're called by the nurse or one of our assistants in the clinic to come pick them up, you would go to what is currently the upper school office. We're moving the clinic to the current upper school office because we have the ability to create an isolation room for students that are showing signs, and we're able to keep them, again, isolated until you're able to come and pick them up. And we're asking that if you get a call from the clinic and they're saying that you need to come and pick your son or daughter up, that doesn't mean 2 hours later, that means right now. Again, please help us as we're trying to help everybody else stay safe as well. Question in the chat says, I noticed there is no upper school supply list. Would upper school teachers have their preferred supply list? Yes, there is no standard upper school supply list. Teachers will be giving students on the first day policy sheets, and that policy sheet will have supplies on them. One of the things that I have asked all upper school teachers to do, and departments are working through this to see what this looks like within each department, is I have asked them to think with a virtual mindset. Because we are not giving lockers, I don't want students to be able to have 50 binders that they have to carry around and 50 notebooks. So again, utilizing our Schoology, which is our learning management system, we're looking at how do we set up virtual lockers where there are virtual folders. Every student, every class in the upper school, we're trying to go paperless. So assignments will be all submitted online. They will be submitted in these kind of virtual folders. We're going to be working with students when school starts. Each teacher will take that day to help them set up this folder so that this folder will look exactly the way that they would need. So hopefully I'm saving you some money so you won't have to necessarily go out and buy all of those school supplies. And so all of that will be forthcoming from the classroom teacher. My pleasure. I think I've covered all of the questions in the chat. Are there any other questions from anyone that's on the call today? Well, if there are no other questions in the chat, or if there are no other questions from anyone that's online today, again, I want to thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your partnership. This is a year more than any that we are all going to have to hold the cart together. And we're going to have to make sure that we're doing our best to stop the spread of COVID on our school campus. As always, I am available to you. Any of my team members are available to you should you need them. I look forward to this year. It is going to be a great year, and thank you guys very much. And I hope that you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.